Hey, welcome back. So we're still on the Bubbly Thoughts podcast, but I know it's been a couple years since I've uploaded a new episode. However, I did receive multiple requests. I'm not lying. If you need proof, let me know. I probably won't show it to you, but there is proof that I got a couple requests to do Buzztober again this year because it seems like everybody's wanting to get into the spooky mood, and I love that. So I'm here for it. So in case you didn't listen 2 years ago when I did this in 2019 and 2020 on the podcast. And basically every single day during the month of October, I uploaded new episodes to the podcast that were spooky. It's interesting. Most of the ones that I read before were all completely fan fiction, but some of these are going to be on the real side, supposedly. We don't actually know 100%, like there's no proof here, but they sound more real than some of the fan fiction ones that I've read in the past. Now, a lot of them are still going to be consistently that same idea where it's fan fiction, so it's not real. It's all stuff coming from the No Sleep subreddit of Reddit. So if you are in the mood to get into spooky season and just have some fun, I'm going to be uploading a new episode every day during the month of October. So that's 31 episodes for you to enjoy. And I'm going to be getting buzzed the entire time while I'm doing it because life is too short. Am I right? But because I'm uploading this to YouTube as well, I do not condone drinking under the age of 21. Because none of us did that. No, but for real, don't drink. Also, if you're listening to this and you kind of want to get buzzed too, don't be driving. Maybe just like do it when you get home. Would not be that hard. Definitely do not do that. So I'm so excited to be here. I hope that you love this. If you don't, do not comment below because I'm very sensitive. So don't say mean things. Let's just be nice because we're all just trying to stay alive, you feel? Let's dive into why you're here, which are the stories. Okay, so this first scary story, it's written in by Excrement Cranium. That's the other thing is some of these names are interesting. They're just like a screen name. Remember like back in the day, if you grew up in the 90s, you had like a really funny AIM screen name. It's kind of like the same thing with this. But like I said, this is not my writing. All of this is complete fiction. It's just really fun if you want to get into the spooky mood for the month of October. I'm going to be uploading new episodes every day during the month of October. All right, so this one is entitled Ouija Board Knocks Back. I don't know about the rest of you, but I do not mess with Ouija boards. Like, absolutely not. I don't care if they're real or not. I'm not willing to risk it. In high school, my friends and I were messing around with a Ouija board one night. We had done it before and nothing remarkable had ever happened. We usually did it to try and scare each other or our girlfriends, men. We all thought it was a joke. That night, there was no one else home except the 7 of us, and we were all together around the board. One of the girls there wanted to try it. She had never done it before. It's because she's smart. This time was different. The board misspelled some of the words the same way every time. It gave answers that seemed really historically accurate for our town, things we neither knew nor cared about. Long story short, the spirit claimed it was a 10-year-old boy who had died on the property in the 1800s and was buried there, too, in an unmarked grave. My friend's house was on a farm on the edge of town. We were all a little freaked out because the board has never been so detailed and consistent. However, we were still skeptical and we were all assuming one of us was trying to scare the rest. Finally, my friend asked if the spirit could do something to prove he was there with us. I'm not even gonna go there. It went to yes, and then spelled out K-N-O-C-K. Then the planchette stopped moving. We just all stared at it silently, and there was a tap, tap, tap right on the window next to us. The lights were on outside, and there was absolutely no one out there. We never touched that board again. Don't mess with Ouija boards. If you can take anything away from this, just don't do it. I don't care if it's real or not. Don't mess with it. Also, if you're wondering, I know there was a line that said the planchette. So the planchette happens to be the item that's used, in case you didn't know, it's the item that's used on a Ouija board. That's the triangle that has like the circle in the middle. There's also like a whole list of rules if you do decide to use a Ouija board, which you should not. But there's a whole list of rules of stuff you should not do and stuff that you should do. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I could always do a video based off of that. So that was our first story. Story number 2. This one is from Redditor Call Me Egg, and the title is Forgotten Memory. Growing up, my bedroom was the only one that faced the front of the house/street. When I was about 8 or 9, I woke up to my dad calmly but firmly telling me to get up, go into the bathroom, and shut the door. I was annoyed because I was half asleep, but I listened. Apparently I was more tired than I realized because I fell asleep on the bathroom floor. The next morning I asked my mom what happened. She seemed oblivious and confused. I looked at my dad like she was crazy, and I asked him why he had woken me up. He denied doing it. I was becoming frustrated to the point of tears, but I ultimately let it go. Fast forward to college. I was home one break and I decided to ask again. I had thought of that night off and on for years, and it still bothered me. This time, my dad goes, "Ha, I was wondering if you remembered that." Thanks a lot, Dad. Turns out that a lot of houses on our block were being vandalized and robbed all those years ago. Someone had broken into the garage and was inside my house. My room was partially over the garage. My dad heard it happen and quietly got me to safety. Police were called. The guy ran. He never got caught. However, and my parents didn't want a terrified kid on their hands, so for years, they pretended like nothing ever happened. It wasn't supernatural, but it was unsettling for sure. Okay, biggest fear. My biggest fear is someone breaking into my house. Like, I'm just convinced there's always someone in my house. Like, I'll hear one noise in the night and I'm like, there's someone that's staying in my house. Like, if you guys have ever heard of the term frogging, that sounded sexual. It's not. I mean the frogging where somebody just like lives in your house and you don't know it. It's a real thing and it's terrifying. It's like my biggest fear. Yeah, that's terrifying. I don't love it. I don't love it at all. I think I just slurred a little bit because I was drinking this. In case you were wondering, this is actually a skinny margarita. And I made it a little bit of spicy with jalapenos. And if you see like yellow stuff floating around in there, it's frozen mango. So I figured it would water it down less than ice. So anyway, carrying on. This is not a cocktail hour. Well, it is, but it's not a cocktail show. So, okay, on to the third story. Oh, also, I don't know if you've seen this. I also got this on Etsy. I know it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can. So, I'm not much of like a pink girly, but every once in a while I'll find something pink and I like it. And this one just has like skulls doing the peace sign on it. I love skulls for some reason. I feel like they're so cool. But anyway, okay. So the third story comes in from Reddit user Josh Second, and it's entitled A Clockwork Orange Style Break-In. Oh, I should also say this. 95% of these stories I have not read because I kind of wanted to create the element of surprise, so we're both like reacting the same way. I'm going to end up repeating from like 3 years ago, I think 2 of the stories, just because I love them so much. I love reading it, and just in case you didn't listen 2 years ago, you'll have the opportunity to listen to them now. And I think there's only 2 or 3 of them. Anyway, back to the story. A Clockwork Orange Style Break-In. Not to me, but my sister. Her husband and her had just had their first child a few months prior. My brother-in-law was working the graveyard shift at his job, as my sister stayed home to take care of my nephew. Around 2 a.m., she heard a loud knocking on her back door. She went to go check it out and saw a lady banging on the door asking for my sister to let her in. Oh my God. I don't know what I would do if that were me. Oh. Okay, so the lady told my sister that her husband had just beat her down the street and was looking for her. The lady told my sister that her husband, okay, this lady's husband. I was so confused for a second. I was like, did the woman's husband who lives there, that was supposed to be on the graveyard shift, but no. This person knocking on the door was claiming her husband had beat her and she was from down the street and the guy was looking for her. My sister was hesitant to let her in since she had a newborn in the house and didn't want to interfere. Good going, girl. Always trust your gut. She told the lady that the best she could do was call the police for her. The lady told my sister not to call the police and to let her in. Red flag. This is where my sister got suspicious. Like, good going, girl. She went to get her phone and called 911. When she went back to the door, the lady was gone. The police arrived a few minutes later and they told my sister that the same situation happened a few streets down. Apparently the couple would do this act to get into people's homes. I guess everybody's afraid of home invasion stuff. So, you know what's interesting? I know I said that this was fiction. These sound very real. I wonder if some of these are real and some of them aren't. I feel like it's easy to tell. This one sounds real. Like, I feel like this is something that could actually happen. So, damn. Sorry if I just misled all of you, but... Oh, there's a last part to this. Sorry. I'm sure this is very common, but having it almost happen to my sister and my nephew just creeps me out. Some real Clockwork Orange shit. Damn. Okay. So this is story number 4. We've got one more left after this. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to sip this again. I made it. It's meant to be drank. That's the thing about drinks. They're meant to be drunk. Really, I'm meant to be drunk. Let's be real. Okay, so story number 4 was written in by Reddit user, oh, great, 666 number of the beast. In case you didn't know that, that's the number of the devil or some shit like that. Okay, so it's entitled Phantom Alarms. When I was in high school, I had a lot of these experiences. At the house my dad lived in at the time, it was really old, built in the early 1800s. There were plenty of times I'd be sitting in the living room and distinctly hear the cabinets opening and closing in the kitchen. It was just me and my dad that lived in the house, and you could clearly see when his bedroom door was shut and he was asleep, but still hear it. Normally my dad worked 7 to 3, but occasionally worked a PM or overnight shift. One night he was working until 11. I was 17 at the time. Around 8 or so, I'm sitting in my room playing Borderlands. I don't know what that is. And I thought I heard footsteps coming from the living room, which was adjacent to my bedroom, and just assumed my dad was home early. And I got back to playing Borderlands. I keep hearing the steps, so I pause the game and listen. And the footsteps are just slowly pacing back and forth between the living room and the kitchen in a steady rhythm. Oh my God, okay. I laid in bed scared shitless and actually counted the steps. Every time it took 15 paces to the living room, 15 back to the kitchen. Needless to say, I did not fucking sleep that night. I'm probably not gonna sleep tonight thinking about this story. Had another situation at my mom's house about 2 years prior to this. Out of nowhere, my alarm clock would go off at midnight every night. I assumed it was busted and got rid of it. Fast forward 2 years, my mom gets another brand new alarm clock for my room, also when I was 17. Suddenly, alarm goes off at midnight. I thought nothing of it, turned it off. You would think nothing of that? I'm sorry, we just must be very different people. It happened again the next night, and then my sister pointed out the old one I had did that as well. So I checked and made sure no alarms were set. Double checked at 11:56. Sure enough, 4 minutes later, my alarm goes off. Freaked out, I threw it out. The next night was my dad's night to have me. I have a buddy of mine over and my dad was working that night. He left for work around 2 a.m. and my friend had brought over an iPod dock to listen to music on. I didn't have the clock set or anything. My friend knew nothing of the last couple of nights, so I knew he wasn't just fucking with me. So about 2 minutes after my dad leaves, we hear the alarm clock coming from my room. I went in. Step number 1, don't do that. And you know how if you just plug in a clock without setting it, the numbers just blink on and off? I do. Well, it was doing that. As soon as I picked it up, the clock set itself to 12 and then just turned off by itself. I don't love that. I don't love that. So yeah, fuck paranormal shit. I'm not religious at all, but I'm 100% convinced that it happens. So, okay, like stories like that, I don't know if that's actually true or not. We have no way of knowing, but wouldn't it be nuts if it was? Anywho, all right, so that was story number 4. So our last story of this episode, once again, there's gonna be an episode every single day. So if you didn't really feel like you got enough today, don't worry, there is more coming. So our last and final story of the night comes in from Reddit user Ghostbusters BM, and it's entitled, She Heard It Through the Wall. 4 years ago, I lived in a very large farmhouse that was converted into 2 apartments. The house was known as the Old Boys Home. It used to house boys with behavioral issues, but was closed due to allegations of molestation. Oh, okay. I love how you just like casually threw molestation in there. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I was living with my boyfriend and 3-year-old daughter at the time. My bedroom had a large fireplace that had been boarded up and painted over. I decided to push my bed up against it one day while I was rearranging things. It was like a headboard. That night around 1 a.m., I heard a small voice saying, "Mom, Mom, Mommy." Did anybody else think of like the Family Guy episode with Stewie? Mom, Mummy, Mama. Okay, sorry. I had sat up in bed but didn't see anything, so I reached over my boyfriend, trying to grab down to grab my daughter and put her in bed. I kept feeling around and I was still hearing the voice, but I couldn't feel her. Okay. My boyfriend woke up and turned the bedside lamp on, asking me, "What the hell are you doing?" Rude, relax. I explained that Amelia was trying to get into our bed and I was reaching for her. There was nobody there. My daughter was sound asleep in her room. The next night came. Around 1 a.m. again, my dog had started to whimper at our door, so my boyfriend got up to take him outside. You know that feeling in a bed when someone lies down next to you, where the bed pushes in and there's warmth in your back? I sure do. I don't like where this is going. I felt that, so I assumed my boyfriend had come back to bed. I rolled over and my boyfriend wasn't in the bed, and I felt the fucking bed release pressure. Whatever was lying next to me has gotten up in that second. Maybe she has like a sleep number. I have a sleep number bed and it kind of goes up and down. That's like normal, right? I think I Googled it. I think that's normal. I moved my bed the next day to the other side of the room, and I never had another incident in the 2 years I remained in that house. That sounds real. I like believe that one. Maybe I should have read these beforehand. Okay guys, thank you so much. This is the first episode of Buzztober for 2023. I hope you loved it. So we're signing off now. Please comment below if you liked this. If you hated it, maybe don't comment that. I'm very fragile, so like don't do that. But yeah, if you loved it, comment below. If there was a story that you liked the most out of the ones that I read, also comment that down below. And if there's anything else that you want to hear, or if you have a story that you want me to read, I would be thrilled to do that. Please feel free to comment that below. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Happy day 1 of Buzztober. Cheers, and stay spooky. That was all mango. I got no alcohol in that. Okay.